And you see, when children do very well and exceptionally, it is more thrilling. It's more dramatic. It has a stronger appeal to say, that powerful evangelist is 12 years old. And there are so many children evangelists that we killed like that because of premature exposure. Oh, if you even across this country alone, you can tell scores of them. When we're growing up, I don't want to call names. I still remember some of their names. You put a 7-year-old on the platform as an international evangelist, and he's doing crusade from night to night, from place to place, and you're packing thousands of people for a 7-year-old boy. God tapped the boy, and then you killed him. Those things you saw, it was God tapping the boy to say, Samuel, 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 Samuel. That was what it was. Then you now took the boy and placed him on the altar of burnt sacrifice and turned him to ashes. So how many of the children evangelists survived? It is a fact that sometimes God does staged unveiling. And sometimes God does not even do, when God is not staging the unveiling, there are preparatory steps that God takes before God unveils the product. Part of those processes might actually look like the real thing. Hello? Let me give you a very simple example. There are some of you that when you got born again, there was a gift of the Spirit that came alive almost immediately. Maybe you got born again, everywhere you went and somebody is sick, if you pray for them, they got healed. If you pray, they get healed. If you pray, they get healed. Like everywhere you went as a new believer. And then after a while, it was as if you entered the desert. You will pray. There will be no healing. They will get worse. When they now call you, they say, that thing, after you left, it increased. It was mad headache, now it's migraine. Then you went to one, you mustered all your faith and you said, the Lord will raise you. 3 days later, you will get message, I lost my brother. It will not look as if you are backsliding or like God is becoming unfaithful. Meanwhile, that time when you got born again, you had not even learned seriously the way of prayer. It was almost very natural. For some of it was that your eyes were open. Maybe as you are walking down the street, you see things and what you see is what it is. For some of it was dream. You had your dream and your dream was as real as reality, because if you give it time, it was going to happen. After a while, it was as if a season of drought was declared upon you. Part of what is happening is that when you got born again, God was introducing you to your possibilities. He said, see what what I want to do. After they have showed you sufficiently, they will now put it back in the drawer and say, now let me teach you how to become the person that can actually handle this thing. It's your own. But now that I've showed you that you have seen it, I want to prepare you for the day of your unboxing. So when you begin in that process, part of what keeps you going through that process is that you know it. You tasted it. You touched it before. You've handled it before. You've experienced it before. You know that it's somewhere there. It's available. It's available. So a lot of people took off. As Apostle we said, they took off like a tornado because God showed them something. That was where many people took off into premature ministry because of those early signs. Those signs, they were God's invitation to you to say, come in, come in, come in, come in. Come up hither. Why? Look at what I want to give you for a possession. I'm showing it now to you so that you can own it for real. Because you see, that thing you saw when you were a new convert and in healings and miracles and all of that, those things that you saw, there's a government that operates them. And you do not learn the ways of God. Jesus says, take my yoke and learn of me. Take my yoke and learn of me. There is a yoke and there is an education. When you take the thing and you do not have the education, you are going to self-destruct. When you have the education and you do not have the thing, it's going to be very frustrating. So God ensures that the yoke comes with an education, and God will teach you the ways of your calling. And the more you learn, the more he unveils you in realms of the possibilities of that calling. So when Mordecai received that initial honor, he didn't say, God has picked my phone call. Ministry is now set. He went back to his former estate. He went back to his former estate. After David killed Goliath, he was not king the next day. It took like another 13 years. In fact, his life almost became more problematic after killing Goliath than it was before he killed Goliath. Another 13 years minimum, he was a fugitive. At that point, people were already singing his songs. Saul killed his 1,000. David has killed his 10,000s. The man was running from pillar to pole, from cave to mountain. And for another 13 years, he will not sit as king. What was that on that day with Goliath? How could you have imagined that it will yet take 13 years from the day that the oil first came on his head before the day that God will unveil him as king over the realm? But those are the ways of God. You saw Jesus at the age of 12 in the temple, and he dazzled lawyers. He dazzled doctors of the law. What else do you need to succeed in ministry if doctors of the law were dazzled by your presentation? That was a superstar, a